Do you feel the vibes?
Hi there everybody, Dragon Slayer here, and today we'll be making a simple platformer game. Now, I won't be making a whole platformer game where there's individual levels and stuff. I will just be making a base demo where you can continue to make your own games as you like, creating your own obstacles as what you think you want them to be. So it's a simple jumping, moving game. Your goal is to reach the end where you see that color. If you touch that color, you get to the next level. Here you see some spikes, so you have to jump over them to get to the next level. Here I see both lava and spikes, so I have to jump here, then jump here, then jump onto there. But you see how I touch the spike, so I restart, and I try doing it again. And then I jump and get to there. But of course this is where I stopped, so now I'm glitched in the floor, so I have to just spam the jump button until I get through it. So like, that's one of the easiest ways to do it, so like you can continue on the way you want. So, let's see how to make this. So, the few basic things you will need are going to be one backdrop for each level. As you see, each backdrop has a level. So, the first thing we have to make is the gravity for the player. The way I did that is made a bounce counter, gravity, and velocity. So I set my gravity to a negative number. The smaller, the less quicker. So if it's smaller, then the more time it takes for the player or the thing you're using to fall down. But if the number was greater, for example, like -5, then it would go down very quickly. But you can really have that as any number, so let me just reset. If you see it here, you see how it goes a bit too quick? Sometimes it would be a bit too quick, so if the number is too big, then it will just go through the floor. So you have to also keep mind of that. I had one -0.3 is a good one. And then you also have velocity. So I was saying, if touching color, so the bounce count we'll do later, but it's just like you set the velocity to the velocity. Actually, let's see. So if you're touching this color, then you don't have to fall down. But if you're not touching the color, then if you did velocity plus gravity, meaning that 0 plus -1.3 would then equal -1.3, and then -1.3 plus -1.3 would become -0.6, and so on. So like it keeps on moving down, down, down. So you have to also say forever set the Y position to velocity. So like it just gets your Y position and adds that extra amount until it goes to the bottom. Once it does that, we have to say if touching the color your floor, then you should turn your velocity around. So instead of a negative number, you should make it a positive number. Then it will say set Y to Y position to velocity. We're doing the same thing, but we're making it now go up. So if you see here, it bounces, if I can get it. If you see here, it bounces. So when I make it bounce, that's turning it up and down. So then we say to set the velocity to the velocity divided by 2. So then what we're doing is we're cutting the velocity in half so it doesn't go up as much. And that keeps on happening until it stops. But if we didn't have a bounce counter, for how many times it bounces. It just would keep on bouncing forever. So that's why that's where the bounce count would come in, where that's why we're saying if the bounce count, so if it bounced more than 3 times, then it will not do it and you just stay there. To make it jump, you should have a went up arrow key pressed. If touching your floor, then set the bounce counter to 0, so then you're enabled to go up again. And then you set your velocity to 8, making your thing go up after you say to set it to your Y position plus velocity. So it's always going to be changing 8, 8, 8, 8, 8, going up always until it reaches the end. So that is pretty much the gravity. I'll give you a few seconds to copy it. You can pause if you want to. This is not part of the gravity. Let's take away everything that's not part. So just this area is the gravity. Now let's move on to the other movements. It's a basic movement code. It's just if the key right is, then point in 90 degrees or right, and then you just move player speed steps. That's why I set the player speed to 5. And if it's the left arrow, then you point to the left and then you move the same amount of steps. So this is actually to just forward on. I just put like a row of colors here, a row of a color. So once it touches that, it knows it can go on to the next level. I did this by broadcasting, and it always goes back to a starting position there. So if it's touching the blue, it broadcasts message 1. If it's touching the yellow, it broadcasts message 2. And also here, it's just the respawn thing. If it's touching a color or the spikes I have, then it should go back to restart. For the backdrop, I also had 3 different backdrops, one for each level. I said if I receive message 1, I change it to the second one, and if I receive message 2, I go to the third one. But I also have to make sure that when the green flag is clicked, it goes back to the first level. Finally, we have an obstacle. Right now I hid them because in the first level, it's just this lava. There's no spikes in it. But in my other 2 levels, they have spikes. So in the middle spikes, there's like, let's see, I'll show you here. The middle spikes, they aren't full spikes. They're actually, if you see here, you could connect those spikes together to make bigger spikes. And that's why I didn't use middle spikes, because there isn't a lot of space to work with in here. You could always minimize stuff, but that may make it harder, and you have to change a few of the numbers in the gravity and movement, but you could always do it. And of course the alone one. So for my 3 levels, I used the alone spikes, which didn't have any sides cut off. They were just 3 normal spikes. So I said when the green flag is clicked, it should hide, like this. And then when it receives the message 1, which it will receive once the character touches the blue, then this spike would go to this position where it will be shown and the player has to jump over it, as if it was a hurdle. Once they pass that, then they can go on to the next level. Here it broadcasted message 2, or just 2 as I called it, and it shows again because I always say to show, because sometimes if I told it to hide for some strange reason, it would, and I wanted it to be seen again. Every time I'll do the broadcast, I would recommend you to show, and again I would say where to go, make it go. And I also have some lava here, so then I just do this as you saw in the beginning. And then I jump over this and go here. I actually touched the spikes here. A little glitch is that you can walk through this a little bit, but there are many ways to go through that. You could actually just, if you wanted to, make it glitch proof, you just go into backdrops, take the lava, make a box here, and then just fill this part up. Okay, so now let's just do this and then we can test it. So here, okay, so if I try doing it, I'd just be blocked. So I have to try jumping now. Here and then here, and then here, and then jumping and going through. But again, I didn't set up another level, so it doesn't do anything when it touches that. Anyway, I will just show you everything again. This is for the backdrop to change. This here is the gravity. That is the movement. This is also something to change the levels. That is the respawner if you touch an obstacle. And the spikes as your obstacles. I hope you enjoyed this video, and goodbye.